What's going on, YouTube? Yo, it's been like I think my last video was in December.
Months, yeah.
My last video was in December. It's been like 6 months. YouTube, it's been a while. I've been busy. You know, I'm with Luke today, and we were just like bored. We're thinking about making a little comeback. All right, so today, as you saw in the title, we're gonna be reacting to like questions like how would do you think you could spend $1 trillion? Which I know like it sounds like easy, like yeah, I could spend $1 trillion, but like you don't like fully grasp how much $1 trillion is. Like that's 1,000 times $1 billion. And like we're gonna be reacting to a video today, and we're just gonna talk about it. We're also reacting to 2 other videos, and the videos that we're reacting to is, hold on, put that up there. We're reacting to could you spend $1 trillion? Let's travel to the most extreme place in the universe and the most insane weapon you ever heard about. All right, so I mean, without further ado, I mean, let's just get into it.
You just got $1 trillion. Not a million, not a billion.
Look how much like different it is, bro. Like it goes from a million is like small like that.
A million.
A billion's huge.
A billion.
And then this shit is like
a trillion.
Yeah, but that would take
but
a
there's
long
a
ass
catch.
time.
You need to
like
spend
that.
all of it in the next 24 hours, or you lose everything.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I can do
First, you need a new car.
Well, you
Go
gotta,
to a
bro,
public
there
site,
you
do
run
it.
out of stuff to buy.
It's
like,
more than
actually,
a car. You have to buy like.
Bro, no, bro. You can literally buy whatever you want, bro.
Yeah.
You can buy like a small country, bro.
You probably can.
Dead
That's
ass.
what you gotta do. You gotta buy like countries.
Ship and
and
buy
shit.
yourself.
Yeah, but can you buy? Who are you gonna pay?
Unless you
Fucking
just
go to
buy a
that
lot of
country.
Lamborghinis.
Bro, 500K. That's fucking this
Wait,
much.
if you buy like a bunch and then you buy other stuff, you could spend half of it on cars and then you could spend half of it on like countries or something. You know,
Bro,
weapons maybe.
you know what I would do? I would start like a business, and I would start like projects. Like I would build like fucking pyramids and
Yeah.
shit. I would build a bunch of shit.
Yeah, but you only have 24 hours. You can't do that in 24 hours.
I know, but I would dump a bunch of money into it.
Yeah, but I think it has to be like, you know.
Bro, I would donate.
That's true. You could just do that.
No, but like I think there's like a maximum limit to donate. You can't donate fucking $500 billion.
Yeah, but you could probably donate like $1 million.
Yeah, but that's nothing. $1 million is literally less than 0.1% of $1 trillion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I would
1
just
billion,
probably-
yo, 1 billion is. Wait. 1 billion is 0.01% of 1 trillion.
Like, how much could you buy like a country for? Can you even do that?
I don't even think you. Yo, cause think about it, bro.
But
Think about
yeah,
it, bro.
agree.
Say you go up to like fucking. Like a small country in like Africa, right? How are you gonna buy it from them? Who are you gonna pay? They're gonna lose their country though. You can't pay the government if it's not their country anymore. Where are they gonna go?
Well, they can still stay, but you just buy it. You know what I mean? You could do that.
Alright.
Like
We-
you own it.
We paused for too long.
And a Ferrari, and a McLaren. You know what? Just buy up the entire dealership. Now
That's what I
you have the
said.
$12 million.
But that's
garage
12
of
million.
your dreams.
That's still a lot.
But there's one small problem. In order to spend $1 trillion in 24 hours, you will need to buy out that entire dealership every single second. You need to
Bro, you
think
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
let's hire 100
still.
people to track down the 100 most expensive yachts and buy them for us. And let's throw in $1 million bonus for each mercenary. That'll be around a $40 billion check, but let's also buy the biggest cruise ship of all time for $2 billion and fill it up to maximum capacity, paying for everyone's tickets and tossing in a Rolex too. Let's make use of this ship's basketball court by buying up every single NBA team and having them back
You could
it out.
literally
Let's get
own
Snoop Dogg,
everything.
Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, and Beyonce to perform for us before sending them off to the International Space Station on a SpaceX rocket that costs $55 million per passenger. Now that you're hanging with rich people, you need a status symbol. You could buy the world's most expensive art piece for $500 million, but why would you do that when you could just buy the entire Metropolitan Museum of Art for $100 billion, and then we could go over to... Transaction failed. There's no way we're already out of money. Yeah, we still have $800 billion. The Metropolitan Museum is an educational institution whose assets are held for...
Bro,
the
yeah, you
benefit
can't
of
buy
everyone.
you can't buy anything, bro.
Forget about the
Yeah,
man.
no, but
You
Yeah,
would
but-
think like you can buy whatever you want, but you actually can't. Like you can't buy
yeah,
this.
but you could just buy other stuff that are that much money. You know, you don't have to buy like. Why do you need to get the museum?
like it most.
Sometimes, you know, the
They're not
entirety of
sponsoring
New
us.
York City is worth around 1.3 trillion. There are currently 33,210 vacant units available, so let's hire 33,000 people to snatch those up for us, and of course throw in a 100K commission. But here's something you need to think about. The most expensive real estate purchase in US history was this $240 million concrete brick. That might sound like a lot of money, but you spending $240 million is like an average person spending $60.
Bro.
I think instead of buying houses, you should build a mega project. The sky is truly your limit. You can build your project wherever.
That's what I said.
If there's people in the way, buy them out with your pocket change. Or maybe try the Saudi Arabia method and relocate them into a graveyard. Actually, I think the Middle East is exactly where we need to go. So let's buy one Gulfstream G650
Yeah, because you
for
can't-
each day of the year and fly across the world. Welcome to the Arabian Peninsula, where people will build literally anything. The world's biggest picture frame, the world's largest clock, the massivest cube, the tallest structure ever, man-made sinking islands shaped after the world map from memory. These are cool. Let's build an even bigger artificial island for 20 billion. Of course, we can't forget about labor cost, so for that, let's budget in $10. Then let's buy every single one of those mega projects I just showed you for a total donation of $101,292,000,000 and $10 to our Middle Eastern boys. But while you're here, take a look at the Burj Khalifa, the current tallest building in the world. If you were to stack $1 bills to the very top, the tower would be worth $7.58 million. You still need to spend 87,000 times that. A stack so high it would go past the International Space Station. If you ever want to spend this money, you need to stop thinking in real estate and start thinking in 51st state. Do you see where I'm going with this? Buy a country. In 2010, the country of Liechtenstein put itself on Airbnb at 70 grand a night. This is literally nothing. You can't be looking at countries hoeing themselves out for pennies. You need the ultimate prize. Somewhere cooler. Somewhere strategic. Let's buy Greenland. Based on the market price of its mineral reserves, the world's biggest
But
island has a
Greenland
price
is
tag
a
of
big
around 200 billion. We can afford that. But there's one small thing in our way. During Trump's first term, when he proposed the conquest of Greenland, the country dismissed the idea as completely ridiculous and firmly stated that Greenland is not for sale. Huh. Let's buy an F-35 for $80 million. Fuck it. 2 F-35s. 3, 10, 100. 2 aircraft carriers, 3 destroyer ships, 1 ballistic missile submarine, 57,000 Blackwater soldiers, 1 for every citizen of Greenland. Now we have a $50 billion makeshift military, and it looks like Greenland's for sale after all.
They can
But by
fucking
this
wipe
point in your
Greenland off the
trillionaire
map.
spending spree, people are starting to take notice. Your exploits might not have hit TikTok yet, but rumblings are beginning behind closed governmental doors. Luckily for you, there's not much politicians can say once you own them. Buy a politician. We got Trump here for $1.5 billion. Kamala is almost $2 billion, but you do get a free Joe Biden. Let's buy up both of those and every sitting member of the Senate and House for a grand total of $7.2 billion for the entirety of American politics. This is a great deal, but there's a catch. Money influences politics, but it doesn't always decide it. I mean, look at the presidential race. Democrats outspent Republicans and still lost because $2 billion can't buy aura.
I'm really liking the
Elon
free Joe
spent
Biden
millions
deal.
of dollars campaigning for an election in Wisconsin, only to find out that shit no longer works when everyone hates you. Even BlackRock doesn't always get what they want. $1 trillion gives you access to almost everything, but culture and public perception are things that are not for sale. Just kidding. Let's buy every single media company. The Washington Post, Time Magazine, the New York Times, Comcast, Fox. Global ad
Yeah,
spend
so you
for an
gotta do-
entire
you gotta
year is
buy
around
everything
1 trillion.
important.
That
Yeah.
averages to $3 billion a
Those are
day.
usually
So
the
let's run 1 week straight of propaganda and we should be good. But if you're still getting heat, there's one final method you can use. A donation a day keeps the guillotine away. It's time for philanthropy. There are a lot of causes to choose from, but you should start off with the people most in need. The US government. America is currently $36 trillion broker than a homeless person. That number is increasing by $2 trillion a year. Luckily, we now have you. $220 billion honestly isn't gonna do much, but it's definitely gonna help. Assuming, of course, that the US government efficiently manages a $250 billion cash injection. You might be wondering how you're gonna send the money. And the answer is pay.gov, an official website where you can make donations to the US government to reduce the public
Who the
debt.
fuck
So
would
let's
ever
just
do that?
enter in your $220 billion right here and... Well, turns out the maximum amount the Treasury accepts is only $1 million.
Who would do that?
You just bought the
would
government
pay the
a bag
government?
of screws from Lockheed Martin. Maybe your money will put a bigger dent into medical debt. See, unlike the government, broke people dying of cancer aren't allowed to print more money to pay off their crippling obligations. Instead, their unpaid debts get sold off to collections for pennies on the dollar. But because of this discount, charities like Undo Medical Debt can erase $100 worth of debt for every $1 donation they receive. And with that ratio, you could wipe out all the medical debt in the US for just $2.2 billion. But what about world hunger? The UN estimated it would take 40 billion each year to end world hunger by 2030. We could afford that. Next, how about we help out malnourished and starving college students? Student loan debt in the US totals 1.777 trillion, with the government loaning out 87.2 billion a year. But before we try to attack this, there's a slight problem. Once universities catch wind that trillionaire Jesus is bailing out their victims, they'll probably just jack up their prices. On top of that, paying off loans might be seen as unfair to older generations who had to pay their way through college and
Yeah, that'd be
pick
kinda
themselves
fucked.
up by their bootstraps. Turns out philanthropy
Bro,
isn't...
if you paid for everyone's debts in college, like that'd be fucked because yeah, you'd pay for everyone's debt, but that would mean that everyone before and after them would still be screwed.
Yeah, I know.
You would just
I mean,
pay off the
I don't know why he's not just doing like you literally buy everything that's important. That's it.
Exactly.
And then your money's spent. I don't know why he's trying to do like side quests. You know. Like
as
you don't
easy
gotta
as
do
it
all that.
seems.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not easy. Building Amazon was not easy. Philanthropy is very similar. It's really hard.
I agree with Jeff here. Let's just buy another $500 million yacht. That's enough philanthropy for today. You still have 60 billion left, and I think I know how to spend it. It might be semi-cheating, but hear me out. 37% of Americans can't afford an unexpected purchase over $400. Being a trillionaire, your passive income earns you $400 every 0.126 seconds. The median net worth under 35 is $39,000. As a trillionaire, you could exchange your toilet paper with rolls of $39,000 bills for your entire lifetime and it wouldn't put a dent in your finances. $1 trillion gives you horizons incomprehensible to the normal paycheck-to-paycheck living human. Even after your spending spree, you still have so much money left that it gives you too many options. You could launch space programs, clean up the ocean, fund institutions. 24 hours just isn't enough time for this much fun. So let's buy more time. Make yourself a trust and safely store your money in it. Now, all of those humanity-shifting endeavors, you can sleep on them, on the world's most expensive bed.
What?
I mean, that was a good video.
That ending didn't make sense in the film.
That was a good video. Alright, next video. Wait.
Where is the chat?
Where's our viewers? Oh my god!
Damn.
Our top fans!
Shit.
Holy shit.
Thanks, guys.
Wait, we're actually
Appreciate
tough. Alright. Next vid.
The universe is pretty big and very strange. Hundreds of billions of galaxies with sextillions of stars and planets, and in the middle of it all, there's Earth, with you and us. But as enormous as the universe seems looking up, it seems to get even larger when you start looking down. You are towering over worlds within worlds within worlds,
Yeah,
each in
yeah.
plain sight,
Bro, I
and
used to
yet
think about
hidden
that.
from your
Like a lot.
experience. Let's go on a journey. We'll start in a park about 1,000 meters long, enough for a 15-minute walk. Every time we click this magic button, we'll become 1,000 times smaller. Please slip into this magic science suit so you don't die and can still see. Ready? Let's go. the miniature realm. You are the size of a grain of sand, just 2 millimeters high, standing on a blade of grass that seems as tall as an 8-story building to you.
That's like a bug.
A square meter of lawn is now a dense metropolitan area with 100,000 blades or 2 Manhattans worth of grass towers. From your new tiny perspective, the park that you could quickly stroll through before is now the size of France. Crossing it would take at least a week. Human-sized humans loom over you, 4 times taller than the Empire State Building. Their steps falling from horizon to horizon.
This is what
A
bugs
bee the size of a helicopter lands near you, making the ground shake as its hairy carapace vibrates with each wing beat.
This
No,
may
they're
be the
bigger.
last ad you ever
The
see.
bee,
Because of
the
free ad block
bugs. We're
extension
smaller
from
than the bugs in
Capital
this.
One
Yeah, I
You
know.
try to
They're
escape,
still
but are barely able
Yeah.
to move because the air is so
around
gooey.
that.
Before you clicked the button, air resistance was barely noticeable, but as you're now 1,000 times smaller, it's as if the air has become 1,000 times denser. It feels like you're moving through honey. Flying insects like bees use this to their advantage. Their wings are not made for gliding, but like paddles that row through the air. Scaled up to human size, the bee would outrun a Concorde jet, except it couldn't even take off because it would be too heavy for its wings. The microscopic realm. You've entered the microscopic realm and are now less than 2 micrometers tall, about the size of an E. coli bacteria. From your new tiny perspective, the park you started in is now 1,000,000 kilometers wide to you. If you walked non-stop, it would take some 25 years to cross it. It's hard to grasp
That
just
honestly,
how
like,
huge
bro,
that
I would
is.
feel like it would take longer.
Yeah, me too.
If you were microscopic.
That's like if you didn't stop for 25 years.
Yeah, but I feel like it would.
Nothing.
I feel like it would take like 1,000. Bro, if you're literally microscopic, like you're invisible to the human eye.
Yeah.
You're telling me it would take you 25 years to walk across the whole park? I don't think so. I think it would take longer.
I mean, I don't know. Because if you really, like, if you think about it, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy that that's how it works. Like, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it doesn't even make sense.
Big world is to its tiny inhabitants. The giant bee that was close a moment ago is now the size of Mount Everest, towering high into the sky, but alive, humming, and vibrating. The air here feels almost solid to you. On the human scale, it would be as viscous as lava, extremely hard to push through. The blade of grass now expands so far you can't see its edges, stretching as wide as Paris would to a regular-sized human. You see
blade of
valleys
grass.
that look like dried-up riverbeds, dead patches like deserts, and giant craters left behind by voracious aphids. But if you look closely, this is not terrain. These are rows of individual cells, each the size of a house with hard exteriors like glass shells.
You would be smaller
Every
than a
few
cell.
cells, there are huge openings called stomata, like mouths, sucking in air and blowing out oxygen. Suddenly, the gigantic bee begins to move. A construct made of rigid pieces that slide against each other like a suit of armor. It takes off to escape a drop of water the size of an asteroid that fell from another blade of grass and is now rushing at you at breathtaking speeds. You brace for impact, but instead of feeling a strong punch, you just get sucked in. You try to swim, but the water feels thick and sticky and holds onto your limbs like glue. Air molecules are free spirits, while water molecules act more like social creatures that group together whenever possible. They pull on each other and create a relatively strong cohesive force that traps you. You can't help it, but you're still moving, tumbling in all directions, helplessly
That's actually
dragged
mad
along
cool.
by an invisible current. Floating in this miniature lake are tens of thousands of microorganisms. They take on many forms. Viruses the size of tennis balls float around you aimlessly. Others, like Euglena oxyuris cells, pass you like freight trains. But most look like oily
It's also kinda
jellyfish the
crazy
size
that,
of a car,
like,
sporting long
like a
tentacles
virus
that
that
act
small,
like supercharged
do that much
propellers.
to you.
Yeah.
Despite the water holding onto them like glue, some move hundreds of body lengths per second, equivalent to a person shoveling through mud at over 600 kilometers an hour. However, bacteria weigh so little, and water is so viscous that they basically have no inertia. There is no gliding on this scale. The result is a weird, jerky motion that's hard to keep track of. Maybe we can learn more about this strange motion if we go even deeper. The molecule realm. You've become the size of a molecule, just under 2 nanometers wide. At your new tiny scale, the droplet now seems as big as the moon to a regular human. The blade of grass it rests on could reach from the tip of Alaska to the end of Australia, and the park is now almost the size of the solar system. But instead of mostly empty space, it is filled with stuff. Everywhere you look, there are innumerable amounts of molecules and atoms. The rigid walls of the grass cells beneath you are clearly vibrating, rippling with waves of energy. The water droplet contains nearly a sextillion water molecules that are all in motion. Water is actually a storm of H2O molecules smashing into each other hundreds of trillions of times a second. Each of them is moving at speeds of around 2,300 kilometers an hour and bombard their surroundings mercilessly, sending small objects hurtling in all directions. This is the source of the invisible current that you noticed when you were 1,000 times larger. Scaling this speed up to the human scale is impossible, as a human-sized molecule would be 2,000 times faster than the speed of light. All this furious motion comes from heat. Heat is a bit abstract at our human scale, where you touch something and get a vague sense of whether it's hot or cold. But down here, you really feel what heat is. The motion of molecules, vibrating, twisting and colliding as if they're inside a furious ball pit. When these molecules lose heat, they move more slowly and collide less often. When they gain heat, they speed up and smash together with renewed fervor. Temperature is basically the measure of the average speed of these fantastic dancers performing all day. Suddenly, a molecule hits you especially hard, and you're catapulted out of the water droplet into the air again. And here, you see something unexpected. The stuff between the air molecules. Nothing. Between the molecules that make up the air, there is a vacuum. On average, a molecule in the air travels for about 60 nanometers, which is about the length of a hockey rink if it were the size of a human.
Like, you have to
If we were to compress all the molecules and atoms buzzing around in the room you're watching this in, they would only fill about 0.1% of its volume. 99.9% of the space around you is a vacuum. You just don't notice it. Which also means that every time you take a breath, you breathe in mostly nothing, with a few atoms. The subatomic realm. At your size of under 2 picometers, scale starts to lose its meaning. A human would be nearly 2 billion kilometers tall relative to you, so large they could stretch their arms from the sun to Saturn. An atomic nucleus would be the size of a grain of sand you could hold on the tip of your finger. That grain holds 99.97% of the atom's mass. The rest, a sphere of influence about as large as the Eiffel Tower from your perspective, is filled with an electron cloud. That's basically all the places where electrons might be at any given moment in time. Electrons are shapeshifters that morph around outside a nucleus, creating a new and vibrating mess of different shapes with every new moment. Unlike the graceful motion of planets, the atomic nuclei are chaotic blurs. They bulge, roll, quiver, and breathe. They hold back the same energy that powers nuclear bombs, and it doesn't let them sit still. They twist and vibrate sextillions of times a second. It's time to end our journey and return to... What are you doing? Stop it. The smallest place. We have reached the bottom, the border between reality and unreality. The scale here is the Planck length, which is the distance light travels in a Planck time. Planck time is the time it takes light to travel a Planck length. Okay, none of our models of the universe make sense at scales smaller than this, so for now, this is it. We think that down here, particles bubble into existence and then spontaneously disappear, creating a quantum foam of unimaginable energy. Can we go even smaller? We don't know. It's time to return.
Make existing content relevant for any market while staying on brand with Adobe Express.
If you look up, the universe is large and strange. So incredibly large and strange. But if you
We're
look
kind of
down
that
into the
small
tiny and
to-
extremely tiny, the
And that
universe
might be up
seems
there in a way,
even...
you know what I mean? And we might be like microscopic. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is crazy. Alright. last video.
In the 1950s, the US began the top-secret project Sundial. Most of it is still classified. The goal? A single nuclear bomb so powerful it would destroy.
This video was good. I watched it last night. Are
Alright,
you watching it?
next time we stream.
All of human civilization. Conceived in cold logic from the mind of a genius scientist, Sundial had the energy equivalent of 10 billion tons of TNT, a pyramid of explosives 13 times taller than the actual Great Pyramid, 3,000 more than all the bombs dropped during World War II. If you dropped the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima every minute, it would take you over 15 months to match Sundial. How is it even possible for us to achieve this insane level of madness? Everything is different forever. Let's set the stage. If you were 40 in 1945, that means you were born in 1905. Back then, monarchs ruled over much of the world. Only 3% of homes in the US had electricity. Cities were dominated by horses.
Bro, that's crazy that like we learned about that shit and it was like not
Less
even
than
that long.
100,000 soldiers died in war each year. Imagine growing up in this world and seeing change almost too fast to keep up with. By 1945, 24 million soldiers and 50 million civilians had died in 2 world wars.
Think about this. Think about how we only live maybe like, let's say 100 years.
Yeah,
And dinosaurs 66 million years ago went extinct.
I know.
Just try to think about
Crazy,
that.
bro.
Try to think about it. You really can't.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
It's like crazy. It doesn't even make sense.
Suddenly, there were TVs, microwaves, jet planes, and nuclear bombs. They kind of broke the brains of the people alive back then. Overnight, nowhere from the edge of space to the bottom of the ocean was safe. It's hard for us today to understand the level of terror this instilled in people. The implications were wild. Without nuclear weapons, it seemed you'd stand no chance in future conflicts. Nations without that power would get trampled by those that did have it, no matter how big their armies were. There was one brief moment where it could all have been stopped. In 1946, the US proposed the Baruch Plan and promised to get rid of their atom bombs, share nuclear technology with the world, and set up an international authority to make sure no one ever built such weapons again.
Bro, they
But the
should have done.
military advantage of nuclear bombs was too great to let go. Just
Like,
3
why do
years
we want to
later,
destroy each
the
other?
Soviet Union detonated their first atom bomb. This caught everyone by complete surprise. The Soviets were not decades behind American technology, but had just pulled even. Shock turned into fear, and fear makes people do crazy things. The whole concept of what war was and how it would be won was overturned in a hot second. In a world where your enemy could fly over your soldiers and vaporize your cities, the only answer seemed to be a nuclear arsenal that could strike faster and harder. The nuclear arms race began. In 1946, there were just 9 nuclear bombs in the world. In 1950, the number was 300. In 1960, it would be 20,000. In a way, the nuclear arms race was pretty daft. One superpower would develop a powerful new bomb and detonate it, and then the other side would build something more powerful and blow it up, and this would continue endlessly. A dirty and wasteful game of creating more and more horror that seemed totally reasonable at the time. Superpowers spent trillions to have thousands of the most intelligent people show off how hard they could destroy humanity. Fear had to be met with much greater horrors, and one man knew how to make nightmares real. But what if we destroy humanity even harder? Edward Teller was a brilliant Hungarian theoretical physicist. He was among the first people to realize that the fission chain reaction in uranium could make a bomb, and he helped to build it. But for Teller, the bombs were not powerful enough. He was ready to pay any price for security, and to be more secure, to be less afraid, he urged that larger bombs were the answer. Even in the 1950s, this was a pretty hot take, and many scientists were appalled by his ideas. He didn't care one bit, and incessantly lobbied scared politicians to greenlight more devastating nuclear weapons. And lucky for him, his timing was just right. Terrified by the rapid nuclear progress of the Soviet Union, he got a blank check from the military to bring his most destructive fantasy to life. It took him only a few years to make them a reality: the hydrogen bomb. A hydrogen bomb is so powerful that it needs a regular atom bomb just to trigger it. It's basically a nuke, the first stage next to a capsule of fusion fuel, the second stage encased by dense materials like lead.
When the atom bomb is detonated, it releases ungodly amounts of X-rays that get channeled onto the capsule. The capsule's surface explodes, pushing
So it's
inwards
worse than-
and compressing the fusion fuel so violently that for a brief moment it simulates a star. When this bomb was first tested in 1952, it instantly erased a Pacific island from the map. 2 years later, he tested an even bigger nuke, 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. The world recoiled in horror. With weapons this powerful, war stopped being about winning, and total human annihilation became very real. Teller celebrated. In just 2 years, he had enabled the creation of American warheads 100 times more powerful. He had stolen the nuclear fire from the gods and awoken cosmic horrors, but he insisted that it was still not enough. His dream was to have a bomb of almost unlimited power. And once again, his timing was pretty great. When the Soviet Union detonated its own hydrogen bomb, it sparked a new wave of fear. This is where we get the top-secret Project Sundial. The bomb to make all other bombs.
Oh my god, look how
irrelevant.
big it is.
The final bomb. Teller skipped right to the end of the nuclear arms race. He wanted to build a world destroyer, something so breathtakingly destructive, so incredibly scary that it made no sense to continue playing. Almost everything about it is still classified, but what we do know about it is terrifying. Work on it actually began, and tests were planned. Sundial wouldn't be some warhead loaded up onto a bomber and dropped on a target. No, it would be a backyard bomb. After all, if a bomb can destroy the world, why bother moving it at all? No need to bring it close to your enemies, you can as well just put it in your backyard. Maybe it would have actually been put in the centre of the country, maybe it would have been put on a remote island, or stored on a ship. We don't know what the actual plans were. But this underlines how insane this weapon was, and that Teller knew exactly what he was proposing. In his mind, the rationale was the ultimate deterrence. If you attack us or our allies, we will destroy the world. On a technical level, his concept was not even that complicated. It was probably some kind of nuclear Matryoshka doll. The truly breathtaking thing is the idea itself, and that he actually attempted to make it real.
Yeah, why would we
Sundial would have weighed at least
Well, but that
10,000
kinda
tons,
stops war.
as massive
Like,
as a
nobody attacks them,
250
they don't
meter.
attack nobody.
Bro, no. If someone attacks them, they end their lives and everyone else's. Like, everyone.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
That's
but
it.
Then you won't attack them, and they won't attack you. So then it's basically like there's no war, unless they might attack you, and then they get away with it because they know you won't attack them back.
Yeah.
That's crazy though.
Long
What
cargo
country is
train.
this?
It would explode with a power of at
think-
least 10
I
billion
don't even know,
tons of
actually.
TNT, a number so big it doesn't mean anything anymore. So let's make this a bit more graphic and explode it in Nevada. One wild thing about it is that humanity never tested anything remotely like it, so this is the best speculation we developed together with experts. For a brief moment, a fireball of pure energy appears, up to 50 kilometers in diameter, larger than the visible horizon. It radiates blistering heat at the speed of light. Everything within 400 kilometers is instantly set on fire. Every tree, house, person.
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks.
The energy would reach much further, but the explosion is so big that the Earth's horizon curves away from it. The surrounding deserts turn into a field of glass. Then comes the blast wave. The atmosphere above the explosion is violently shot into space. A magnitude 9 earthquake shakes the United States, while the sound of the blast reverberates around the world. North American forests burn, adding their soot to the bomb's radioactive
So if they
force
blew it up
to
in
create
Nevada, it would
toxic
hit
death
New
clouds
York.
that shroud the world like a dark curtain. Sundial
whole
is like a nuclear war happening all at once, but it's more like a giant volcano erupting or an asteroid striking than a nuclear war. Sundial would bring about an apocalyptic nuclear winter where global temperatures suddenly drop by 10 degrees Celsius. Most water sources would be contaminated and crops would fail everywhere. Most people in the world would die. So, congratulations, you won. Good news. Wait, no, bad news. The good news is that Sundial was never built. Most details are still top secret, but we know that scientists reacted with horror, and politicians who were secretly informed responded with disbelief. Even the US military thought this was a bit much. In the insane world of nuclear arms, this madness was too much, building it considered a crime against humanity. And it had other problems too.
A single apocalypse weapon leaves you no wiggle room. Would you press the button if enemy soldiers crossed a distant country's borders or attacked one of your distant bases? Would you end the world if your rival overthrew a friendly government? Can you protect an ally with a bomb that would kill them too? The elephant in the room is that
No, that's what I
while
was
Sundial
saying.
is clearly insane, humanity still kind of did build it. At the peak of the Cold War, humanity had over 70,000 nukes. Even today, we still have about 12,000 nuclear weapons, enough to destroy human civilization. Instead of a single world burner, the superpowers built tens of thousands of nuclear weapons of all types and sizes, hidden in submarines or waiting in bunkers and
Even with the
silos.
nukes that we have now,
And
we
this
can't-
sounds so much
Yeah.
more reasonable, doesn't it?
And we
But
also
this
don't
also
know
makes them a
lot
much
about
more
all that
credible
shit.
threat. Because if people feel they can risk
If
setting
you're
a
saying
small
Russia
nuke,
went to
they
war,
might
the
actually
world
get
would end.
launched.
Bro,
And we don't know.
they built this shit in 1950.
Yeah, no. Imagine we could do what we could
It's
do
been
now.
70 years, bro.
Well, they didn't
What
build
kind
it,
of chain reaction this might
but
trigger.
we got 'em.
So in reality, the difference between Sundial and what we have today is not even that big. Humanity didn't build a doomsday bomb, but a doomsday machine. Today, the world may be on the verge of another nuclear arms race. The US is on track to spend $1 trillion on nuclear modernization programs, while China is expanding its arsenal and might have more than 1,000 nuclear weapons ready to be deployed by 2030. So far, we've escaped the existential threat these weapons pose, but if an alien visited Earth, it might ask us if we're okay and need a hug. We should ask ourselves as a species if we really want to be ready to destroy ourselves at a moment's notice. That was a
Alright,
I
man.
don't think it would happen because then, like, who would want to end the world?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's why it's like
That's
pointless.
why I don't even think like a World War III would happen because it's just.
It's actually stupid. Because like, all right, no, like the guy was saying, like that's what I was saying. If you're trying to protect somebody with that bomb, right? Like you're trying to protect a neighboring country. Somebody invades that, like you're still gonna kill that country too.
Yeah.
You're gonna kill everybody.
Yeah.
There's no point in it. It's not doing anything for anyone. It's just gonna end the world. That guy was like a madman for trying to create that.
And it wasn't even like he just wanted to look like powerful.
Yeah, I don't know. Alright, guys. I mean, that was the video. We got 0 viewers. But I hope somebody watches it when it releases as a video. Alright? So, we're gonna see y'all, and we're probably gonna stream.